Hi there.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
What? I'm good. Tired, but I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
It's so nice to see you. It's nice to have you.
Same here, just to be here. Thanks for the invite and everything. Great to be here.
We can start maybe in a few minutes. We can just wait for people to join, you know?
Okay.
And um, yeah, just to sort of introduce what we're doing here as well. This is the Reimagining AI series brought to you by Global Digital Futures. And yeah, we're just speaking to different thought leaders, artists, academics who have alternative views or maybe even subversive views on AI. We want to expand that narrative and invite more people to the conversation, you know? Yeah, so Malik is. I was a bit nervous for this one actually. No, it's really nice to have you. We're joined by Malik Afegbua, a multidisciplinary artist, filmmaker, CEO of Slick City Media, and yeah, really a trailblazer in this space, especially for AI and art in Africa. You know, you're based in Nigeria, and yeah, it's really great to speak with you. I think we're going to touch on some topics, just how you work with AI, some of the questions that there are on developing data sets with AI, and maybe some practical insights on how more people on the continent might get into this space.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's kick off. So, thank you so much again, Malik.
Yeah.
So, just as a first question, like your work spans multiple different digital mediums. Can you tell us a bit how you work across all of these various mediums?
For me, it's not really about the medium. It's about the story, you know. It's all about storytelling for me, really. And first of all, I think about the story and trying to tell the message I'm trying to pass. And then I think about how can I pass that message? What's the best way to pass the message? And it could be through film, it could be through music, fashion, art, AI, and the likes. But it's the best medium that I see that I could use that I use. So, but I'm privileged enough to be able to walk across this different mediums, and that's because of my passion, and that's because of the fact that I'm very, very, very passionate about researching about the future, researching about the
Mm.
next, kinds of communication, the next types of technology that we'll be using in the future. Like we're currently at AI right now, so I'm very interested in the frontiers of all these things. So that allowed me to play in many different spaces as well.
And how did you get into AI within your artistic practice? Like, I know for myself, I'm sort of starting to get into the space. Did a recent residency that really helped to expose me to some information. But and I've got a techie background, but what about other artists, you know? Let's say, I don't know, if you're a filmmaker, musician, painter, how did you make that transition?
For me, it was purely experimental. Just experimenting to see how I could use this tech to tell stories or to augment my current storytelling. And that was about 3 years ago, before Gen AI and anything like that. So it was purely experimental. I wanted to make mistakes. I wanted to be at the forefront of, okay, what if this gets better? How can I use this? How can I get better at this? So it was like every other tech, you know, AR, VR, immersive tech, all been experimental for me to start with. Then from there, I just try to get better at it. I try to learn more. I try to do research about it and just go deeper. And if it's something I'm interested in, I just keep doing it. So first, it starts with the interest, the research, then the practice. Then from there, just experiment and make mistakes, and that's what I did. Yeah.
And what was some of like, just going a little bit deeper into this question, what were some of like the platforms that you used for research? Did you have to buy new hardware, new kits?
Yeah.
Did you have to like learn how to code or maybe collaborate with people?
No, there were many white papers that came out before Gen AI came out, that I was always following from researchers, professors, uh, like enthusiasts, scientists, and all of that. So I was always researching, reading, just trying to find out what could be, and with your smartphone, you could do a lot with your smartphone today. If you're thinking about changing your hardware, all the things like that, you're thinking about very heavy kinds of product that you're trying to create. If you're talking about 3D or Real Engine, Unity, and stuff like that, but you have these other things. And the first ones that came out in terms of Gen AI, that was Discord Diffusion, Stable Diffusion, Dali, and Mid Journey.
Mhm.
And back then it was just really, abstract. Nothing really major could come out of it. But I just kept experimenting to see how best, even with the abstract look of it, tell stories with that. And it grew from there. I've always had great computers because of the other, forms of work that I do with film and everything. But that was not the reason why, because every other computers I use as well, if it's a Core i7 or anything, it's still works. Because most of it works on the cloud and not actually on the GPU. But right now we can have localized GPUs to use these things. But back there we didn't do that. We were working on Google notebooks, and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just experimental, and anybody could have done that. Anybody can still do that today if you really want to do it. Yeah.
Nice. So, your works, like for example, the Elder series, which is like such a celebrated work using AI, um, and it's been celebrated for reimagining traditional, African narratives and challenging biases. Can you tell us a bit more about how does it do this? How does it reimagine traditional narratives, and what are some of the considerations around AI data and those biases that you had to overcome as well in the process?
So like obviously AI learns from data sets and all of that, But when I was trying to create the album series, I had no references. I had nothing to look at to create from. There was nothing really. So I had to, do that in many different steps. But the thing is, when you write a prompt on an AI software, you get something. But what I was getting was misrepresenting, like it was really bad images, like really, really bad. So what I did was I had to train, that neural network to make you understand what we look like, how we dress, everything from clothing to poses to materials to literally everything. And that was many different steps before I actually finally got to the place where I was comfortable to make variations of different, models with Photoshop, put it back in the AI software to make variations. So there was many alterations that I had to do before I got to the final step. When I got to the final step, then I could now replicate, that image and use that to create more images. But before that, there was nothing, like literally nothing. And that would tell you how in the digital space, Africans and Black people, like, we're still biased. Today, if I still type in a prompt about a boy in Lagos, I'll still get a dirty boy in Lagos. Even if I put a clean boy in Lagos and all of that, I still get a dirty boy. And it spans across different countries, different spaces as well. And not just race, even with gender as well. And that is just based off of the inception of how it's been framed. So that means that we as individuals, we have to be part of that training, we have to be part of that creation, we have to be part of that, process of controlling the narrative because of the fact that currently still it's still misrepresented cultures and heritage. So I had to go on a deep dive into the rabbit hole on trying to correct, that misconception of Black people.
Mhm. Yeah, you mentioned two things that I would like to dive into a bit deeper. Uh, First, since you're talking about the data sets, so how long was that process of creating your own data set? And, did you do that independently? Like, what did that process even look like as well?
Well, like when I was doing it, it's not the same as what you would call training today because I was just feeding it data. Just feeding it all my data, just feeding it all my pictures. images that I owned. Today you could train data sets with Python and many other ways, in a neural network. But it's still the same traditional, because that's how it learns. If you put your content out there, AI learns from it, from the data. So I had to put out intentional data, feed it intentional data to get results from that intentional data. And obviously I've been doing it for 16 years, like film commercials, and then like many, many years. So I have data
Yeah.
and I have intentional data as well. So that was where I fed it. But that is just on one little tiny, space that I had. Just imagine if, like, collectively, black people start to feed intentional data, culture, heritage, and all that, that would change something. And that means it's possible as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's quite amazing and quite an interesting, like, organic progression that happened with your work, because you had all of this like video and image data from the work that you were doing, and then it, like, progress and use
Yeah.
it for this AI space. That's really interesting. And yeah, I think what you raised about us collectively getting together and pooling data is, yeah, something we want to touch on in a little bit later. And you also mentioned sort of using other tools along with the
Yeah.
AI, to create new images, etc., etc. Uh, some of the sort of reservations about AI is that it might affect people's creativity or overtake, artists' creativity. Like, what is your view on that? Yeah.
Before we had Photoshop, before we had like software to paint on, we had canvases. Before canvases, we had before photography, we had canvases. Before all of that, so it's been a growth,
Mm,
from inception, and it's tech, it's creativity, it's everything that it has to evolve, it has to grow. So we find new ways to approach this tech and think of the tech as a tool.
mm,
If you think of it as a tool, then you approach it like a tool. And currently, people look at it as, this would, steal my job, or this would replace my job, or anything on my occupation. But that is not true, because I say something like AI is like a blank canvas. It's just like a template. If I put in a prompt in Nigeria and someone in China puts in that same prompt, we're gonna get pretty much the same results. But what makes your work unique from the other person if you're still using AI? It's your experiences, it's your creative process and everything. So when you approach it as a tool, it becomes just that, a tool, but a very advanced type of tool, like to make things faster or imagine things with them. And that's tech, and that's why it's growing. So why not be part of that growth? If you're looking at it as, oh yeah, I'm not into that, it's unethical, you will be in trouble in the future because of the fact that there is no stopping it. You don't really have a choice. It's definitely going to get better. And because of the fact that it keeps learning, it's not going to be learn or online or anything. It's going to keep learning. So why not let it learn the right narratives to help you better? The
mm,
right kind of data to help you better in the future. Because if we're currently being biased and we achieve AGI in the future, that's a problem for that people. Because if decision making is in the hands of
yeah.
machines and we're being biased, that's the problem. So that means we have to do something about it right now, like
Mm,
right now. And I can't even stress that enough. And it has to be done by us. And the reason why is because, for instance, there could be a village in Kenya that has 200 different languages. OpenAI may not know that, but someone in Kenya would know that. So that means we have to collectively, individually, like, be part of that process as well. It's like a duty, if that makes any sense. Um, so yeah, it's not gonna stifle your creativity or make you lazy. Actually, it's gonna make you better. When I started using AI, I worked with the biggest companies in the world. Before
mm,
I started using AI, I did work with the biggest company in the world. And everything happened in the space of a year. Really fast.
mm,
That showed me how tech is the future, no matter how you look at it, because it gives you something different, it gives you something more advanced. But now think about it from a user point of view as well. You could use that ethically or unethically based on the user, depending on the use. So don't look at it as, yeah, that's just something. It's just a tool, like every other tool, you know. So the approach is that.
Yeah, amazing. Incredible. Thank you. You touched on the rewriting of the narratives and that you may have a village on the continent with 200 languages and OpenAI know nothing about this. What are your thoughts on how traditional culture, including, sacred knowledge and information, from Africa can be archived but also protected with AI? And are there any ethical concerns around creating these data sets and adding this knowledge to, the AI sphere?
Um, I think for Africa, it's the reverse. You know, in the other parts of the world, people will say, "Yeah, I don't want to put out my data. I don't want AI to learn from my data." But I think when it comes to Africa, we need AI to learn from our data because we don't have the right data on online. Like if you go back, like try to find out things about history, you keep getting the same type of narrative, slavery, blah blah blah, which is that stereotype. And that's what AI learns from. But there are many other things that we know that are stories, about heritage, culture, tradition, language, everything that we need to share. We need to express. We need to train this software to understand what it is, so that way other people can understand, or we can use that to solve problems as well. We keep looking at it from one point of view, but it has to be a general point of view. So that means, for instance, we it's great to be a user of this tech, but we also need to be makers as
Mm,
well, or be
mm,
part of the making process. So that way we have a voice. We could
absolutely.
correct, we could change, we could modify, we could properly direct. But right now it's just based off of what we see, and we try to use it and try to navigate and alter, and it's a lot of work. But what
Absolutely.
if we're actually part of that process? And that is one way. We need to put out the right data, the right context, everything. There's also immersive technology that we can use to store. Like for instance, I did a project with in collaboration with Meta, Africano Theatre, and the Rockefeller Foundation to document and preserve the Kofa Matadai pit at the heritage site in Kanu, Nigeria, where they make the tie and dye fabric from scratch. It's a 500-year-old site. Obviously because of insurgencies and nature and everything, it's dying out. But how could we preserve that memory? So we're using immersive technology, virtual reality, and all of that to do that. So that's one way as well to do it. And you could use that and even train AI with that content for it to understand all these things. So it's all part of it. So it all comes down to putting out the right kinds of stories, the right kinds of, you know, narratives
Mm,
intentionally for it to be trained on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow I also think just awareness of what this what AI is, what are the possibilities and potential with it. Because sometimes with researching on the continent, like, my work focuses on Zimbabwean traditional narratives. So I'm out there like trying to like meet communities, research, gain information. And there's always this sort of friction or challenge that I'm also trying to work through of just not extracting data, and extracting information, making it a collaborative process somehow, and also figuring out what all stakeholders involved have to gain. What would you say? Do you have any views on this aspect?
Can you say that again? I missed some part of it.
Just sort of thinking around the different, like when collecting data
Mm,
in various communities, let's
mhm,
say indigenous rural communities, for example.
yeah.
How do you have any thoughts around just managing those
data set.
Relationships, I suppose, so that it doesn't become a situation of just extracting
Yeah.
data. How can everybody, all the stakeholders involved, sort of feel that they're benefiting and getting something out of it, you know?
Yeah. So first of all, we need to understand something. Yeah,
Mm,
that we are here today because of something that happened in history, or something that did not happen in history. And think about today. In the AI space, how we have been represented in AI space. I think about 20 years from now.
mm,
Or think about the next generation, and that is enough motivation for you to understand that what is currently happening today is not going to put us in the right space. Whether we like it or not, we are still going to be at the background trying
mm,
to catch up, but we have every opportunity right now because it's still literally open source, like thousands and thousands of open source things to be part of that change, to be intentional about, oh, I know about the next generation might be confused or might be lost because of what's currently happening today, but let's do something about that. Like, let's, for instance, like I said, there might be a village of 200 different languages. How about we document properly, have those data sets, make AI understand every single thing, and not Africa being a country or a continent, with multiple different countries and multiple different traditions. So that is it's a massive fold. Like it's a big project to do, that is very very valid. But for us to do that, we as individuals first of all need to understand the values and the threats of that. But if we understand the value and the threats of that, we start to be intentional of the kinds of things that we do today. The kind of film, stories, music, that everything matters. Because storytelling changes the world, storytelling changes perspectives, mindsets. Everything. So that being said, that is how we need to approach it. And from there, we could start finding ways to grow or, collaborate with other entities and all of that. And there's a question you should ask yourself as well. Why is it that these big companies are spending so much money on AI to train it? Because they have to be the leaders of it. And yeah, if that control is there, that's
absolutely.
still a problem. So just think about that. There's a lot of money going into the training, not the ethical side, not the regulations, but data sets,
Absolutely.
training to get better, So I think about that a lot, and it's kind of scary, because we have regulations to talk about, we have ethics to talk about, we have, user bias, everything, but nobody cares. It's just the other side. So yeah, we have a long way to go.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, that is the scary part. Like, people are scared or nervous about AI as a technology, but actually, well, the thing to be afraid of is that it's in the power of a
Yeah,
very small percentage of people,
yep.
and it's
That
sort of
have your
like in,
data.
you
Yeah,
know, and yeah, I mean, this is why we want to be having these conversations as well, to like demystify, because even the negative dystopian narratives around AI, I think it's even a distraction to like disempower people, make people afraid, so that you don't delve in and get this knowledge for yourself. Do you know what I mean?
I
And it
know.
remains with like this small percentage of people.
And there's also a different fear that I have, and that fear is the fact that AI learns from history, AI learns from data. And when you look at pop culture, look at Hollywood, look at everything that has been said about AI, it always ends in destruction. Now, think about that for a second. If the only types of, you know, um, knowledge it has is to end humanity to be superior, what if we achieve AGI and that happens? Because there's no alternative view of it. Because every single thing that makes AI intelligent today is data that's
Mm,
been fed. So like just imagine, like, that is a problem. So why not change
mm,
that narrative of, okay,
mm,
rather than making it destructive, it could be for good, for
absolutely.
solution, for medicine, for like many other things, but not destruction. So that's a scary thing as well. So something to think about.
Mm, amazing. So many like rich insights and things to think about for sure. So just as a way to wrap up and maybe practically speaking, this is such a big question and there's various probably threads and roads towards this, but let's say we're thinking about a potential roadmap for getting more people on the continent into the AI space and developing data sets of our own.
Mm.
Um, what do you think are some of the inroads for that, or some developments that you're seeing that can you can shine a light on? For example, what do you think about this? Like getting more people involved.
I can speak about what I'm currently doing. I have a group called the NFAT. NFAT is the New Frontiers of Artistic Technology, and what I do there is just to um, teach you how to, approach it. First of all, like so how can I approach? Forget about using it or anything because it could be a facade, it could be a buzzword, and you could get lost in it. But how can I first of all approach it? What role do I play? What can I do and how can I help or how can it help? How can it be a solution for anything? So that's the first thought for, before anything. Like understand, how can you protect yourself in the future? I was talking about something yesterday that in the past you need about 200 pictures to create a deep fake. Today you need just one. You know, when you like, for instance, if you wanted to clone a voice about 6 months ago, you needed like 30 minutes worth of the person's voice, nice 10 seconds. So, it's crazy. It keeps getting better and better, and in a scary different way. you know? So yeah, I feel like the more conversations that we have like this, the more communities that we could create, just to talk about the approach of it being as a tool,
Mhm,
and what role do we play, and how can we create the African large language model? Because
mhm,
it's massive. It is massive. Think about, AI has learned many things and billions of parameters, but come to Africa, there's no
mhm,
data. So we have to create those data for it actually. So that African large language model is very, very key for us to think about, start
mhm,
doing as well. So a long journey. It's a hard, tough road, but I'm hoping that more creatives, more people will get themselves involved.
mhm,
They'll just research, understand, and just make mistakes, man. Just make mistakes, and from there you correct yourself and just get better at what you're doing. Nobody gets hurt. It's just there. It's free. It's open source. Just try it.
mhm.
That's what I can say.
Amazing. So cool. And we've had someone asking a question twice. When is the movie out? I don't know if there's like a
That's
specific
Fred.
preference.
What's good, Fred? Soon, very soon, very soon, very soon.
But on that question, like what are you any exciting or interesting projects that you're working
Yeah.
on, or something that you'd like to mention coming up?
Yes. Yes. So, for instance, I was trying to find out when English language as a language was like, when did Nigerians start speaking English as a language? You know,
Mm,
like before colonization, after colonization, all of that. I checked on every web page, AI software, Copilot, ChatGPT, everything.
mm,
The same results I got was there is no information. It's nothing. And I have a bunch of questions like that in history that I have found nothing. You know, so it's crazy. So what I'm
so
doing right now
strange.
is I am currently interviewing people that are aged 80 and above, to find out what life was like, when they were 15, 16, 60, 70 years ago, in correlation to what life is like today, and in projections of what life will be like in 60 years from now. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we in our lifetime never met our ancestors.
Mm,
But imagine the next generation actually meeting their ancestors physically, because I'll be exhibiting these people in a holobox where you feel like you're actually seeing them and speaking to them. But it
amazing.
doesn't end there, so this is the cool part of it now. Everything I'm getting from these people, I'll feed it into a large language model and turn
Amazing.
them into avatars. So let's say in 50 years, you're speaking to your ancestors and you're asking ancestors questions and it's answering you based on the data that I give it, like literally standing in front of you and talking. So that's the idea. That's what I'm heading to it. It's a lifetime project. that I won't obviously even be around when it's kicking off properly, but I'm excited about it, and it's something that keeps me up. And yeah,
That is so, so, so incredible. So incredible. Yeah, like I hope to experience it or part of it. I'm sure there'll be like iterations, but it's fantastic. And I
definitely.
love that concept of connecting the past and the present and the future
Yeah,
and ancestry. You said something like storytelling.
yeah,
You said something related to storytelling and its importance. And again, that is a storytelling tool as well, passing on our knowledge orally as we have always traditionally
yeah.
done. There's just so many fantastic
And
aspects to it.
funny thing, the project is actually called Storylines, and storylines in the sense that the wrinkles each line is a story, literally,
Mm,
and almost like the roots of a tree. So it's very, very, very deep. Like I have many thoughts into it. That is like
amazing,
my best project so far. So I would say.
amazing, 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 amazing. It's been such a pleasure and honor to speak with you, to have your time. You're honestly like such an inspiration. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank
for your
you. Thank
time.
you for having me. Thank you, Fred. I see your message. Thank you.
And yeah, we'll definitely be in touch. I want to join the AI group. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put out I'll send you the link. You can try. It's free for everybody. Information, everything. Definitely. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Malik.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Take
Great to be here.
care
Take care.
and
Bye bye.
speak soon.
Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.